What's up guys, welcome back. If you enjoyed this video, do us a solid and smash that like button. And if you want to see more of our videos, then feel free to subscribe. Okay, so I'm pretty excited about the build that we have today. A lot of you guys have been asking for a bow one-shot build, and we finally threw one together. Let's take a look at the recommended stats. And for those of you on Patreon, don't forget there will be a written version of this guide over there as well. On a range build, we don't need too much vigor, so I went to the 40 soft cap. As always, feel free to put a little bit more if you feel like you need it. Strength is our main damage stat, so we're going to push it all the way up to the soft cap of 80. You're going to organically push it to 70, and then I'll go over the resources we use to get to 80 later in the guide. This is sort of a quality build because of the scaling on our main weapon, so you're initially going to push dex to 60, and then we're going to use some tools later to try to get it as close to that 80 soft cap as possible. As always, we're going to hit that PvE poise breakpoint of 51, and we're doing this so the enemy's light attacks do not interrupt our attack animation. And this could become a real factor with the slower animation of bows. Now before we dive into what bows were used in this build, I want to take a second to thank this video's sponsor. War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made. You can play more than 2,000 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships in dynamic combined arms PvP battles. Every vehicle is incredibly detailed and modeled down to their individual components, offering a highly immersive combat experience. Play free now on PC, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, or previous console generations. The collection of vehicles in War Thunder span over 100 years of development, from the 1920s to present day. There's an in-depth customization system for vehicles. You can apply hundreds of camouflages, place historical markings anywhere on your machines, as well as 3D decorators such as bushes and equipment. I personally enjoy the diversity of the combat, covering aerial, ground, and naval warfare. And I also love the fact that they incorporated so much history into the game. Do yourself a favor and go play War Thunder for free right now on PC, PlayStation, or Xbox using my link below. When registering on PC, there's a large free bonus pack for using my link, including multiple premium vehicles, a premium account, boosters, and much more. Now let's get back to the build and take a look at what weapons we're using. Now when it comes to a bow one-shot build, we obviously want the strongest bow in the game AR-wise. In Elden Ring, that turns out to be the Golem Greatbow. While you can farm this from any bow-wielding golem, I found the most efficient method to be farming the golem right next to the Grand Lift of Dectus. It's not initially hostile, so it's pretty easy to get a stagger and then a critical. With the 10% drop rate as well, it shouldn't take too long to get this, and there's the added bonus of them dropping some other materials we'll need. Another bow we're going to pick up for this build is the Lion Greatbow. In order to get this bow, all you need to do is kill Radahn, and then you can purchase it at any point in the round table. In this build, we're using it mostly in our offhand for the 20% damage bonus that it provides to Radahn's spear's great arrows. Now for large enemies like dragons, when you're using through and through, you want to use the Golem's Great Arrow. The Golem's Great Arrow has a wind AoE that will knock over humanoids and provide AoE damage as well. It works really well with rain of arrows and through. These are farmed from golems as well. Now on small to medium sized bosses where you're going for headshots, you're going to want to use the Radahn's Spear Great Arrows. You can also buy these at the round table hold as soon as you kill Radahn, and they're great to get an extra 20% damage on your headshots. Even when the Lion Greatbow is in your offhand, you still get the damage bonus for using these. Now if you're using your Greatbow for just general exploration, you don't want to burn through your top tier ammunition, just head to the Hermit Merchant Shack and buy great arrows. They sell an unlimited supply, they're much cheaper than Radahn spears, and you can go buy more at any point. So I would recommend using these in non-boss situations. Now as a Bowbarian with so much strength, I would recommend picking up the Giant Crusher. It's the highest AR weapon in the game, and it scales incredibly well with the build that we're already using. This weapon's just ground loot. All you need to do is defeat the ulcerated tree spirit that's guarding it, and you're good to go. Now let me justify these choices and provide you with some other options for weapons as well. For a one-shot bow build, the Golem Greatbow is just the obvious choice. It's by far the strongest Greatbow in the game, and this is in a large part due to its strength scaling. If you're looking for a lighter, faster, normal bow for general exploration, the pulley bow would be my go-to choice. Now the Giant Crusher is going to be the highest AR weapon, obviously, but if Greatswords are more your style, then the quality Watchdog's Greatsword would be your best bet. Now in keeping with the flavor of this build, I would go with the quality Zweihander. It's unique in that it's the strongest weapon in the game with a thrusting animation, making it the strongest weapon in the game that can perform a counterattack. And when doing counterattacks, it actually becomes the highest damage weapon in the game, surpassing the Giant Crusher. That's because counterattacks are exclusive to pierce weapons and provide a 30% damage bonus, which fits right in with this build, because arrows also do pierce damage, and we're using those counterattacks to kill some of the higher health bosses later in the game. Now if you want something smaller and lighter that's not a colossal weapon, the quality Banished Knight's Greatsword is a great option, but personally for the same reasons that I chose the Zweihander, I would go with the quality Claymore, and trade a tiny bit of AR for the superior moveset and that thrusting animation. Now as always, you can use any weapon in the game that makes it more fun for you. Really any strength, dex, or quality scaling weapons are going to perform really well in this build. For your melee weapons, use whatever Ashelworn skill you want, but for bows, there's some that I specifically recommend. The first of which, and the most important, is going to be through and through. Now this already comes on the Golem Greatbow, so you don't need to go get this unless you want to use it on a different Greatbow. In which case it's very easy to get. It's up in Mount Gelmir, and all you need to do is kill an invisible scarab. And the scarab's located just before heading down into the entrance of Volcano Manor. And the through and through skill is how we're getting these massive damage numbers on these dragons. If you watch closely in slow motion, you'll notice that the arrow hits multiple times. And I need more testing, but I believe it's exclusive to the Golem Great Arrows. Something to do with the Golem Great Arrow's wind AoE effect hitting multiple hitboxes as it passes through. Another Ash of War that I highly recommend is Rain of Arrows. Now to get this, first you need to go and grab the painting in the town of Cilia. Then you're going to use the Spirit Spring in Eastern Caelid by the Erd Tree. And double jump exactly like I do in the video shown. And you can save yourself the hassle of having to jump down all the tree roots this way, since you don't take fall damage when using a Spirit Spring. This pairs extremely well with the AoE from Golem Great Arrows, and I'll show an example of that in the buff section. So with armor, as usual, there's two major considerations. We have the defense and poise side of things, and then the fashion souls side. This setup ticks all the boxes. So starting things off with the legs, we went with the Knights Cavalry Greaves. They give us 15 poise, and they have a great poise to weight ratio. For gloves, we went with the Knights Cavalry Gauntlets. They give us another 5 poise, and they match the Knights Cavalry Greaves. And then a big surprise on the chest armor, we went with the Knights Cavalry Armor, which give us 25 poise. This set has really good poise to weight ratio, and it looks fantastic. I love the all black aesthetic and the balance between the cloth and metal. You can pick this set up on the southern part of the consecrated snowfield. You're going to see a large caravan like you see in many other parts of the game. The key difference being that this caravan is going to be guarded on both the left and the right side by 2 Knights Cavalry enemies. And in order to get the Knights Cavalry set, all you need to do is kill these 2 Knights Cavalry enemies. And with the one-shot bow build, it's pretty easy because you can do this without aggroing both of them at the same time. Now after killing the second enemy, you'll be rewarded with the Knights Cavalry set, and then you're good to go. If you choose, you can actually use the Knights Cavalry helm in this build as well. That's completely up to you. You should still be under your weight for medium roll, and it pushes you to 53 poise. For purely aesthetic purposes, I went with the black knife hood. It weighs a little bit less, but with the 6 poise it provides, I was still able to hit the 51 poise breakpoint. If you plan on rocking the black knife hood as well, all you need to do is go to the back side of Ordina, and underneath the staircase in the back of the town that leads you up to the portal to the Haligtree, you just hop down and look underneath that staircase, and you'll find the entire black knife set. Now, if you don't care much about fashion, and your primary goal is just min-maxing defense and poise, here's a list of some of the best armor combinations to keep under medium roll with the Golem Greatbow. Realistically, all you need to do is try to hit the 51 poise breakpoint for PvE and wear whatever armor you want. Now, talismans play a huge role in adding damage to your build. Now, the talisman that carries the most weight for this build might actually surprise you. The Shard of Alexander raises damage from skills by 15%. This will apply to both Through and Through and Rain of Arrows. To get the Shard of Alexander, all you need to do is finish Alexander's questline, meet him in Crumbling Farm Azula, and clutch a 1v1. Now for any bow build in the game, you're always going to want to use the Arrow Sting Talisman. This is just a flat 10% increase in damage to all arrows and bolts. You can grab this really early on too. All you need to do is go over to Caelid and climb the tower right before reaching the bridge to Redmane Castle. Now counterattacks provide 30% more damage, and that actually stacks with the Spear Talisman, which provides a 15% increase to counterattack damage. You can also pick this up very early inside of a chest in the Lakeside Crystal Cave. The way the math works, you actually end up with 49.5% more damage on counterattacks with this. Since we're a ranged character, and especially if you're using Spirit Ashes, you shouldn't really be getting hit much, so we can really take advantage of the Ritual Sword Talisman, which increases damage by 10% while you're at full health. You can pick this up in the Loux Ruins after a very easy boss fight. Now, if you find during exploration you're killing a lot of things from a range, you may want to pick up the Arrow's Reach Talisman, which increases the range of projectiles by 65%, and you can pick this up just moments after starting the game. It's in Limgrave in a tower just above Gatefront. There might be cases it's worth using to increase your damage range. Now, most people don't want to do a long-winded one-shot buff routine, so let me show you how you can absolutely dominate in under 5 seconds with only 3 buffs. The first of which is the Rallying Standard. This is the skill on the Commander Standard, and it increases all damage by 20% for 30 seconds. And to get this weapon, all you need to do is kill Commander O'Neill in the swamp over in Caelid. The Bloodwell Aromatic increases all of your physical damage by 30% for 60 seconds. This is a craftable item that you gain access to as soon as you pick up the Perfumer's Cookbook 2 in the Shaded Castle. And if you're unfamiliar, that's on the northern side of Altus Plateau right before crossing over to Mount Gelmir. Now, the first of our 2 flask tiers, we're using the Strength Knot Crystal tier. This raises our strength by 10 for 3 minutes. It's a great tool to buff the strength scaling weapons like the Golem's Greatbow early and hit that 80 soft cap. You can pick it up extremely early as ground loot just outside of Stormvale. Our second tier is going to be the Dexterity Knot Crystal tier, and this is accessible early as well. It's ground loot as soon as you get into Liurnia, and since we're basically a quality build, we definitely want to get Dex as high as possible. Eventually beyond level 150, you'll try to hit the 80 soft cap as well. Now to showcase the strength of this simple buff routine, we use our Flask, our Blood Boil, and then our Standard. And this should drive home the point that you can really ramp your damage up to insane amounts with just a couple seconds of buffing. I also set up the fight this way so that I could demonstrate the power of the Rain of Arrows combination with the Golem Great Arrow that I was talking about. It's not very hard to see some pretty crazy damage numbers with that combination. The Rain of Arrows just pairs really well with kind of that ground AoE air explosion from the Golem Great Arrow. And it's a great alternative to the through and through skill if you're looking to change it up. Just throw Rain of Arrows on a Greatbow, since you can't change the skill on the Golem Greatbow. Alternatively, you could also use the Lion's Greatbow since it already has that skill on it as well. As usual, you can use whatever consumables you want with this build. The one I would recommend strongly, which should come as no surprise if you just watch the buff routine example, would be Sleep Pots. Situationally, these can be incredibly strong in making a hard boss fight into a very easy boss fight. It also indirectly increases your damage output by 20%. You can craft these after getting the Fever's Cookbook 1, which is available very early on in Limgrave. Now, if you're still here, that means you're enjoying the video, and if you haven't smashed the like button yet, you should do so now. And if you're looking for a written checklist version guide of this build, or you want a guide on how to tumble buff Royal Knight Resolve onto the Golem Greatbow, all of that stuff is over on our Patreon. So whether you're just looking to support the channel a little bit, or you're looking for access to those custom guides, the link for the Patreon will be at the end of this video on a clickable element or in the description and pinned comment below. Also be sure to leave your comments in the comment section below and let us know what build you want to see as a one-shot build next, or other ideas for guides or builds that you'd like to see. Now for the example one-shot buff routine, we're going to use Godfrey. As always, you're going to start off with your Flask, and then we're going to start building up our Frenzy to proc Madness for the Black Dumpling. And then just before we proc Madness, we're going to use the Blood Boil Aromatic. This is because it lasts 60 seconds, just like the Black Dumpling buff. Next, we're going to restore our FP, and then we're going to switch to the Mushroom Crown to get ready for the Poison procs. Then we're going to use the Rallying Standard and equip our Golem Greatbow. We're going to use Fetid Pots to poison ourselves in order to proc the Kindred of Rot's Exaltation and the Mushroom Crown. Then we're going to switch to the White Mask and use Seppuku to proc the White Mask and Lord of Blood's Exaltation, and then quickly switch to the Red Feather Branch Sword and the Arrow Sting Talisman. All that's left is to tumble buff Royal Knight's Resolve onto the Golem Greatbow, switch our offhand to the Lion Greatbow, line up a headshot, time the counterattack, and send it.
Brave, tarnished, thy strength befits same crown.
Alright, so our next video is almost done, so keep an eye out for that. And a big thank you to our patrons. Don't forget to go check out the written guide for this video. Now before you guys head to the next video, don't forget, those of you on PC, when you go to play War Thunder, be sure to use my link to take advantage of that free bonus pack. And whether you're on PC, Xbox, or PlayStation, go check out War Thunder. It's completely free to play, you got nothing to lose. Especially if you're into military history like I am, go check it out, let me know what you think.